开始，就要开始。
那个 Keith，很像亲的那个 kiss， 就是要夹舌头 Keith。
嗨，老师。
早，坐前面，因为我要设定摄影机。
我想说我会被镜头拍到。
都会拍到啊，对啊，就是要拍的，对啊。
好啊。
年轻的。
对，今天聊一聊，蛮好，他也会讲中文。一唱。好久不见，
老师太辛苦了吧？你是比我太忙了。
就这样吧。而且这样真的谢谢你，因为
会吗？
最近又要开始准备教程，然后后来就跟着学学看，你分享也对教的，他有需要可以跟着你练，你跟着你讲，就开始练那个手写。
老师你自己开始写啊？
然后因为现在带着他们，我就自己那个看，一个记忆和分析。
我继续可以使用就好。
还是对方放的是说，
不会，我觉得这是小事。我只是看我现在抓题，所以抓题的部分，因为我没有再继续考试，所以我可能对现在的题，
而且是他们对很多事，还有就是怎么去组织的，还有喜欢这种形式，蛮好用的呀。慢慢的去看一下。
因为那时候时间比较紧，所以没办法一直写题目的时候，就是只要每个题目心里都加得出来，基本上还是会有分散掉。我有改的地方，
把改那个你考科改的，所以我现在这个策略就是总结的思考。
然后我看到找到苏芬老师，他怎么改课啊？
但这些很多原理，这个是教学里面，教育里面所以像这个教育性它第二周学习的方法。所以你原本教材，
所以实物那边会多教材教法。
一不少，它有列一些，然后最大我觉得目前看到这个有一些原本理论嘛，然后你要把它第二个，就是没有办法。那个就是可能更
然后因为有时候写一写会写到，对，原理用在那边，然后就是
来早。
早。真的呀？
那我在借学弟那里。好啊。哎，对，也是可以送水。
可以这样。行，
太棒了。
大家早上好。
坐白色的桌子。
最前面那个。
对。
对啊。
That's nice. America. Yeah. Yeah. Me and we have very close lines. We differ like a little bit in some things, but generally we share some of those things. So hopefully this will be very close to what you said. Yeah, hopefully it'll be helpful.
要不要坐这？不会吧？你现在差不多这时间吧？
有啊。
哦。这样也是好。哇，又地方。
今天可以买，要知道一下。
Just let me know when you want to start. One of the students on Tuesday said she was, because she's I don't know her Chinese name or English name, so. She said she was really interested. Even though she's or Josh.
Hey.
不会啊。其实你看得到我。
这样过。看一下这个就好。
带地狱老师在干嘛？他没有，带3节课。
他的哪里？
超。 不是那种很严格的，因为如果我讲话也很温柔。
严格，但是不是很凶。而且还有
他那时候电话跟我交代课程的时候，他就挂掉电话说，基本上像那几个情况下讲那个上课都还是台湾人，但是如果他们还是有几个人，有一两个比较，他就用什么形容词，然后他就说我是帮他学没有问题。哇，这讲话好可怕，人家妈妈。
早安，我们大概在1分钟，9点05分开始。如果你还没有拿奖励的话，赶快可以准备一下。
好。
好，首先非常欢迎各位来参加我们的创意工作坊。那各位应该也知道，其实我们办这个工作坊有一些蛮特定的目的啦。那希望各位在这件事情能够有更好的生涯的发展。所以在座其实都是符合资格，然后比较有机会的。我们想说先重点再谈看看，然后再看看接下来还可以有什么样的方式来支援大家，能够去不只是真人，然后也能够有找到一个早点上传。早点上岸就是上传。好，那我们这一期工作坊今天是先请到在师培学院服务的 Keith 老师来跟我们。那他其实就师大聘他就是为了要实施那个双语的教学还有国际的教育，所以在这方面其实非常的有经验。那我们下一个礼拜的讲师呢就是陈俊老师，今天也一起来跟我们学习，对，所以老师非常的用心哈。那下礼拜也会带给我们很多就是在教学上面还有实务上面的经验，他自己先生的也可以跟我们先生说法。有一些比较琐碎的事情，下午的时候我的时段我们再谈，但是我们就把握时间，我们先用掌声欢迎今天的讲师Keith。
Well, good morning. I am really excited to be here today. Today we're going to talk about teaching a bilingual PE class. So the first thing I want to tell you, I'm not a PE teacher. Okay, so when they asked me to come do this, I tried to think and pretend I was a PE teacher and think, okay, if today they told me to teach PE in English, what would I do? Okay, so knowing this, if I say something and you think doesn't work, tell me and we can talk about it, okay? So before we get started into the content, I'm going to do a warm-up. You have two choices. You can either be excited about bilingual PE, or you can be scared about bilingual PE. If you are excited, I want you to stand on this side of the room. If you are scared, I want you to stand on this side of the room. Make a choice. Stand up. So excited is over here, scared is over here. Interesting. I I chose the bigger part of the room for excited. I thought more people would be excited. Okay, so we're gonna go through this. I wanna get to know you. So I'll start. My name is Dr. Graham. I'm excited about bilingual PE because I think it will give Taiwan students more opportunities to learn. Who wants to go next? They're not excited anymore. Now they're scared.
Me.
Thank you.
My name is Lin Chi Liu, and you can call me Richard. I'm excited about bilingual PE class because I want to be a formal teacher.
Great. All right, let's pick a scared one. Who'd like to go next? Thank you.
My name is Lin Li. I'm scared about bilingual PE class because I have never done that before, and even I can speak English, but I'm afraid that students cannot understand what I'm talking about.
Good. Thank you. If you've already said your name, go ahead and sit down so I can keep track. Sit down. All right, someone over here.
My name is Bing Fu. I'm excited about bilingual PE because I never tried it before. So I'm excited and nervous to face the students and learning PE class.
Great. Thank you. Someone over here.
Hi, my name is Stanley, and I'm scared of bilingual PE class because if I'm excited, I won't be here. I'm here to learn something to teach my students, but I'm a PE teacher in Taoyuan, and most of my students, which I am in an international high school, but my students cannot speak English. So I'm here to learn some tools or technique to teach them.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you.
My name is Keith, and I'm excited about bilingual PE because I think the combination of English and PE is the future. And I believe it's going to be fun for the students to learn English too.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Yes.
My name is Amy. I'm scared about bilingual PE class because I think it's difficult for me to teach you English.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
My name is Yidan Xu, and I'm excited about bilingual PE because I think it's a good opportunity for Taiwan to have good environment for students to learn English.
My name is Ian. I am scared about bilingual PE because I don't know how to design my PE classroom in English class. So I need to know some knowledge for students.
Wonderful. Thank you.
My name is Josh, and I'm excited about bilingual PE because I've never done it before and I want to try.
Wonderful. Thank you.
My name is Ashley. I'm scared about doing PE because I don't know how to adapt the English and Chinese in my class.
Cool. Thank you.
My name is I have no experience and a lot of knowledge about how to teach PE class in English. And I can come here to learn something I don't know. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
My name is Steven. I am prepared about bilingual because my English is not very well. Maybe my student cannot understand what I say.
Should I put it here? Sorry.
Okay. I'm scared about bilingual PE because my English is not very well. So maybe my student cannot understand what I say.
Well, I understood everything you just said, so I think you're going to be okay. All right, thank you. Who'd like to go next?
My name is and I'm scared about bilingual PE because I think if I'm a student, I don't want to say English during exercise really. So I think it's a challenge for teacher and for student.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Keith. I'm scared about bilingual because my English is very bad. So I still teach from the first.
Okay. Well, you did well just now. Thank you.
I'm scared about the
Bilingual
P because I English very bad.
Well, you did well. What's your name?
谢佩瑜.
All right. Thank
My
you.
name is 谢佩瑜.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. So there's two things. Well, there's three reasons I did this. I'm going to close this door. So there's three reasons I did this. First reason, I wanted to know your name. And I wanted to get to know you. Second reason, I noticed pretty much everybody, even though all of you can speak English well, pretty much everybody was looking at this, at least a little bit, when you first started to answer. If I asked you to do this question and that wasn't there, I wonder, would you feel a little bit more nervous? And did this make you feel a little bit more safe? So this is one of the things you need to think about. The first thing you need to think about in a bilingual PE class. How can I make my students feel safe? And this is one way. Plan out kind of what you want them to say and give them things so they cannot fail. So it feels very safe. And then the third reason, so PE is a little bit different than other bilingual classes. But generally what I tell bilingual teachers in Taiwan is that every class, students should say at least one thing. Even if it's as simple as, I learned basketball. It can be as simple as that. But everybody says one thing each class. Because after a while, the first time they say it, even if it's as simple as, I learned basketball, many students are going to feel really scared the first time. And then the second class, they might say the same thing, but they're a little less scared. And then the third class, a little less scared. And the fourth class, maybe not scared anymore. And bilingual education, in many ways, we are doing this because we don't want our students to be scared of speaking English. They all learn English in class, but sometimes they're too scared to say it. And even simple things can help build confidence. Okay? So that kind of goes to the first activity and something you should think about in your class. But we'll talk about more details about how to do class later. So today, in the first part, we're going to answer this question. What is bilingual education? If I ask you this question right now, what is bilingual education? Give me a 3 if you are very sure you know what it is, a 2 if you're kind of sure, a 1 if you don't know what it is at all. Put up your hands. 3, I really know what it is. 2, maybe I know what it is. 1, I don't know. What do you think? 3, 2, or 1? Okay, so mostly 2s and some 1s. Okay, so we're going to answer the question, and hopefully when you leave today, you will be able to feel like it's a 3. You know what it is. The second part, we'll talk about how to support your students. I know one of you said you are scared about bilingual education because you don't know if the students can do it or you don't know how to help the students do it. We're going to talk about that today. And then I'm going to give you some time to practice. You're going to do just a very small little lesson. You'll work in groups and then you'll present to us, okay? And then at the end, any questions you have, I will answer, okay? So just really quickly, you should be able to describe the characteristics of bilingual education, apply techniques to support student learning in English, and then demonstrate how to give the rules of a game in English in a bilingual PE class. So, what is bilingual education for PE? I want you to talk with your tables. I don't know if you want to join another table since you're all by yourself. I want you to talk to your tables. I'll give you about 3 minutes. Talk about what bilingual education is, what you think it is, and what it is not in PE. Okay? Go ahead and talk to your tables. 3 minutes. No, you can talk in Chinese. I'm glad you said that. Okay. In bilingual education, do we always have to have our students speak English? The answer is no. So particularly, even though I usually always use English when I teach a bilingual PE class, or not, I don't teach PE. When I taught in a bilingual school, I usually always used English. The students almost always used Chinese when they were working together. And then when we came back, they used English to talk to me. And that's okay. Okay? And so you can do the same thing today too. Okay? When you work together, use whatever language you want. Chinese, English, Taiwanese, Arabic, anything. And then when we come back, try to use English, and we'll see what happens, okay? All right, go ahead. 3 minutes.
So make sure that you also have water.
Yes, I've got both. I am prepared. Thank you.
老师要全职讲。那假如说我们在
像我觉得，就是因为也不会是
应该是我觉得如果是的话，就会是就是应该真的要选一个。那可能有些像是限制正学期，50%真的是我需要是其他都是正学期。
像我就觉得，应该要就不能讲太多了，我想出来。
对啊。
就是要选那个比例的。
I feel like this table's kind of cheating because there's 2 students that were in my class on Tuesday, and we talked about all the different ways to do bilingual education. So I feel like it's cheating a little bit.
所以他也是就是我觉得也是会设定门槛。这个拍照，可能有最最关键的，可是不一定。他可能是
在节目上可以用，节目上可以用关于。
All right. So I'd like to hear what some of the things that you've talked about. So let's start with this table. Tell me, either one, what bilingual education is or bilingual education is not.
What we talked about is we are more sure about the answer at the left side, but at the right side we are a little bit confused because just like you say, and bilingual education is not, we don't have to always say English.
Okay. Is not always English.
Yes.
Oh no, that didn't work.
Oh,
all right. We'll just. Sorry. Oh, that's fancy. Okay. So I can just use my finger? All right. Is not always. I think I need an Apple pen because that doesn't look good. But that's okay. All right. So it's not always English. Good. How about this table? Either way, either side. Yes.
Okay, on the right side, we think it's not an English class.
Oh, it's not an English class. Oh, this is really not good. Okay.
Maybe you can use the back side of the marker. Use the pen on the back.
No luck. Yeah, maybe I'll just use it. I think that might be the way to go. Thank you. All right, so it's not. Sometimes fancy technology is not good. It's okay. We'll just. I give up. We'll just say it. It's not always an English class, or it's not an English class. All right, good. How about this table? Yeah, you can, whatever you want.
So we think one of the bilingual education is to let students to get used to English environment.
Okay. I think that's my best one. I think that I'm getting better. All right, getting used to English. And did you want to say another thing, or you wanted? You said you want. All right. How about this table? All right, that was, I was on that word. How about the faculty table? Anything you'd like to add to this? Either side.
It's learning the content of the content.
Is learning content. Okay. Cool. So a lot of you put up a 2, but I agree with, I think, everything that you've said here. And today we're going to talk about sort of how to do this. So bilingual education is not always English. We're going to talk about how do we use both languages effectively. Because on the one hand, we want to make sure Taiwanese can still speak Chinese about PE stuff, and we want to make sure the students learn, but we also want to give them enough time in English to actually learn the language. And so we have to learn how to balance it, and we'll talk about that today. Bilingual education is not an English class. Very correct. Your job is not to teach English, okay? You have English teachers in your school. They will teach English. You do not need to teach English. What you do need to do is create an English environment for your students so that they can get used to speaking English. You don't have to teach English, but you have to give them opportunities to use English. And we have to remember, you are PE teachers, and it is a PE class. PE is the most important thing. And if, for some reason, bilingual education affects the PE content, then we need to stop. It should not lower PE content. It should add other things to the PE content, okay? So as teachers, we need to make sure that we do that. All right. I think if I press this button, yes. All right. So when we talk about bilingual education, there's two ways to look at it. We can look at bilingual education as teaching language, but we already said, do I get to keep the writing? Oh, nice. We already said it's not an English class. So we don't want our bilingual class to be here. It's not about teaching language. Oh, it's still there. Can we stop that? Okay. In some classes, there might be a little bit of teaching language, and there might be a little bit of teaching content. And we usually talk about that in terms of CLIL. Maybe you've heard that word. It's being used a lot. CLIL is supposed to be teaching a little bit of language, teaching a little bit of content. And in some subjects, I think that makes sense. For example, chemistry. If we're teaching chemistry, the students need to know how to do chemistry, but it is important that they're also able to write about chemistry in English. And so then the chemistry teacher needs to teach a little bit of English, but chemistry English, not just regular English. But in PE, things are different. Because in PE, we want our students to stay active. I think probably the rule is probably 70% of the class should be students being active, right? Is that about right?
Agree. Maybe more.
Huh?
I agree.
Agree or more, okay? If more, great, okay? We want them to stay active, and that is the point of PE. So PE, I think, is a bit different. It really is all about content. Content meaning staying active in the class. Okay? So to me, that is one of the most important things you need to think about. When you go into a school and you start teaching your PE class bilingually, it's always about staying active. Okay? And like you said, bilingual education is never teaching English. Teaching English is what we would call language-focused learning, where the teacher teaches grammar. They teach how to write a sentence, how to write a story. That's language-focused. PE is not language-focused. PE is about meaning-focused. And you're going to do two things in PE. Meaning-focused input. What that means is when you say something, the students will understand it. They only are focusing on meaning. So, for example, if I say, stand up, the students will know to stand up. They're focusing on the message, the meaning. They're not focusing on learning stand up, what that means. So it's always about meaning-focused input. And so what does that mean for you as teachers? That means everything that you say to a student, you need to make sure that they understand, that they can understand the meaning. They don't have to understand every word. They need to understand what you mean. Okay? So maybe they don't understand what stand up means, but when they hear stand up, there are other things to help them know what you are saying, and they do it. And then there's meaning-focused output. This part, when I think about PE, is a little bit more difficult. But basically, it's kind of like the first exercise we did. I put up some sentences here, and you said, my name is, and then you said why you are scared or why you are excited. I also gave the example of I learned. Students aren't learning English when they say this. They're trying to tell you a meaning. They output meaning. And so at the end of class, if you say, what did you learn? And the student says, I learned dribbling. Next, I learned basketball. There's always going to be a student. I learned PE. Okay. That's okay. As long as they are giving you meaning. That's your two jobs in bilingual education. Give the students the environment to understand the words you are saying, and then give them a chance to say something. If they say, I learned PE, that's not grammatically correct, but that's okay. Okay? If they say, I learned play basketball, that's not correct, but that's okay. Why is it okay? Because I know the meaning. I know the meaning. Now, if they said something like, I learned blah, 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 then we don't have a meaning. So maybe we have to fix that, okay? Like maybe you have to say something like, 你刚做什么? And then they say, oh, 我上做篮球. Oh, basketball. Oh, I learned basketball. And then it's meaning focused out. So there's a little bit of language teaching, but only if it's like, I don't know what you're saying. Does that make sense? So always about meaning. Now, let's talk about languages. So in a class, we have, in a bilingual class, we have two choices of languages. What languages? Chinese and English. And then maybe if you teach somewhere else, there's a third language. Maybe Taiwanese, maybe something else. But we'll focus on two languages right now. So we have a choice. We can choose Chinese or we can choose English. So how do we make those choices? Well, bilingual education can mean a lot of different things. It can mean strict separation. What strict separation is, very simply, it means only English. Strict separation is only English. And what this means is, I'll give you an example. I went to a school in New Taipei City, and their PE class has two teachers. One is an American, one is Taiwanese. And the way they do it is that the American teacher only speaks English, and then the Taiwanese teacher only speaks Chinese in the class. And so that's what we call strict separation by teachers. You have bilingual education because you have two teachers that speak both languages. And when the American teacher is teaching, it's all English. When the Taiwanese teacher is teaching, it is all Chinese. And they plan their lessons based on that. So the Taiwanese teacher might give directions in Chinese. Then the English teacher might be the referee in the game and only say English. Make sense? They're not saying the same things. They're saying different things, but they're choosing which teacher is going to do what part. So there you have your bilingual education. This is good, but it's expensive because you have to pay for 2 teachers. So if you have the money, cool, but a lot of schools do not have the money, so there's always 1 teacher. So that's not an option. Another strict separation. Let's say you have 2 PE classes in a week. You can do strict separation by class time. Let's say it's Tuesday, you have Tuesday, and you have Thursday. On Tuesday, because that's the first lesson of the week, I will do everything in Chinese. And then on Thursday, I will do everything in English. And then you have a strict separation between the 2 classes. When you plan, you'll have to think the important content that they must know, I'm going to teach on Tuesday because I use all Chinese. And then maybe the activity where they take what they learned on Tuesday and they use it on Thursday. Since it's all English, they're just using what they know now. It's nothing new. Does that make sense? That's a strict separation by class time. Okay? Or by days. You could do that too. Any questions about strict separation? Let me ask you, what do you think? If you like strict separation, you're like, oh, that sounds like that's something I could do. I want you to stand over here. See, I'm getting you active. PE. If you're like, what? I didn't even touch anything. There we go. If you're like, it sounds okay, but I don't know, stand here. If you're like, I don't like strict separation, I want you to stand over here. So like, yes, this sounds good. Maybe. No. Choose a side. So this is, I like strict separation. I think that's a good choice. Not sure. No way. Interesting. I'd like to hear from the no, I don't like strict separation. Tell me why you don't like it.
Because we talked before, it doesn't teach more to English language or English whole day.
Okay, so you are worried that the percentage of English is less. Interesting. Okay. Why do you like it?
For me, I like the separate of teachers. But I think I can do it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So one part of like beginning or warming up, I can use all English. But the second part, maybe I can use Chinese. Or maybe I use some word cards to help them.
Why is this going crazy? Like, what's going on? Is it because, does the TV? I don't know. Why is it going crazy?
No, I don't know too.
Okay. Why are you not sure?
I think it's because, first of all, I like the district separation idea, but I think it can depend on the students' English ability. And at the first stage, I think students may not willing to get that so quickly, but I think that is a goal that we can reach.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Okay, so on one point, I think you have a really good concern. There's not enough English in a strict separation because you're dividing between two languages, and so that's an okay thought. And then the other thing is students. Can they really? If I do Tuesday Chinese, Thursday English, can they really do all English on Thursday? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So strict separation has its problems. Okay. And it takes a special environment of students and teachers to make it happen. All right, go sit down. Let's talk about the next one. Do we just need to, I'll let you do it. All right, so the next one, while they fix this, the next one is called flexible convergent. Here's what flexible convergent means. So strict separation was basically you think about doing part of something all in English. It's a very strict English only type thing. Flexible convergent is the idea where English is the goal. And more specifically, all English is the goal. But our students can't do that. So what we do is we give them some English, and then we give them some Chinese, but eventually the Chinese becomes less and less, and it goes to all English. So it's this philosophy of, I'm going to use Chinese right now because I have to. But my hope is as my students get better in English, as they get older, I take the Chinese away. Okay? So for example, maybe in my first class, I say everyone stand up. I'll say it in English, and then maybe I say it in Chinese. So stand up, 站起来, or however you would say it, I don't know. And then I slowly take the Chinese away. And as a teacher, I hope all English is the goal. So I'm using both Chinese and English, but my Chinese is only when I need it. And I want to emphasize that. In this system, Chinese is only when needed. Chinese is not the goal. It's only a tool to help. It helps the students. English is the goal. What do you think about this? Do you like this? If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you're not sure, give me a middle. If you think this is a problem, put it down. All right, so we've got a lot of thumbs up. By the way, if I need to teach,
just turn around and use television.
Okay, yeah, that works for me. All right. Is there a clicker and then I can stand there? Or I can just teach the whole thing on the whiteboard. I know it well enough. I don't really need the PowerPoint. Thumbs up if you like flexible convergent. Middle, down. Can you show me one more time? So I've got a lot of up. I've got some middle. And then I've got Sona in the back who's like, nope. But Sona took my class, so she knows what I'm about to say. I don't like flexible convergent. And I spelled flexible convergent wrong, so maybe I need my PowerPoint. I do not like flexible convergent. And here's why. I want to ask you a question. I want you to think. Tomorrow, you wake up and you are the last person on earth that can talk about PE in Chinese. Nobody else can talk about it except you. You are the only one left that can talk about PE in Chinese. How do you feel? Do you feel okay about that? Or is that sad for you? Because if you answer, it's okay, then flexible convergence, fine. If you're like, no, I think people need to talk about PE in Chinese too, that's important, then flexible convergent is not a good idea. Because what ends up happening, so right now, let's say you go to a grade 7 class, Guoyi. You go into that classroom. Right now, those kids probably can't use much English. But there are schools that are starting grade 1 English PE. And when those students get to PE 7 years later, because they've had 7 years of PE hearing English, they don't need Chinese anymore. And when they get to grade 12, Gaosan, then there's no need to use Chinese in PE class because they've used it for 12 years now. And so after many years, maybe in 20 years, 30 years, if you keep doing this, the language in PE will disappear. Why do I know this? Because in the Middle East, countries like Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, where they speak Arabic, people no longer can use Arabic in math and science. They can still use Arabic at home. They can still use Arabic to talk about religion, but they can't use it in math and science because they did flexible convergent. And now their classes are usually always in English. It's a way to do it. And it's used a lot in America where they're trying to make everyone speak English. But it also can hurt languages. So I think, I'm not saying you can't choose this one. You can do whatever you want. It's okay with me. But I want you to think about how important is Chinese for you. And I think we have to be careful with this. That's my opinion, but you can do whatever you want. Okay? So what do I really like? So this one, I think is too much money. This one, I think is a language killer. It's a language killer. And so now we're here. Flexible multiplicity. What flexible multiplicity is, here we have all English is the goal. It changes. Now it's Chinese and English is the goal. We hope that at the end of 12 years, our students can speak about PE in Chinese and they can speak about it in English. Under flexible convergent, after 12 years, we don't care if they speak Chinese, we only care if they speak English. Flexible multiplicity, we care about both. They need to be able to talk about basketball in Chinese, and they need to be able to talk about basketball in English. Both are important to us. So, there's a couple ways that we can do this. We can do what's called translanguaging, where it's kind of similar to strict separation, but it's a little bit different. So output is in one language. So you're speaking, you're writing, it's in one language. And then your input is in another language. So for example, let's say in a PE class, Unit 1. Unit 1 is basketball. So I am going to ask the students to say things in Chinese. And the rule is you don't have to speak English during Unit 1. You can use all Chinese. But I am going to talk to you. You're going to get input all in English. So they're practicing their Chinese and they're practicing their English. Unit 2. So if this is Unit 1, Unit 2, I make a switch. Unit 2, I switch output to English, and I switch input to Chinese. Because I, as a teacher, think Unit 2 is a little more difficult, and I want to make sure they understand. So I give them everything in Chinese, but they are answering in English. That's one way to do it. Okay? In PE, this works really well in classes where you have to read, like history. Because then you give them maybe a textbook in English about history, one unit, but then a textbook in Chinese for the second unit. In PE, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You have to play with it. I think this preview, view, review is actually the best, one of the better solutions for PE, okay? Because you're going to preview the lesson in Chinese. And we'll talk more about how to do that later today. But very shortly, you say something like, I'm going to try this, don't laugh at my Chinese. 等一下我会介绍篮球，所以你要注意听我说篮球的规则。And then I say, and that's the preview. So we say, this is what you're going to hear today. And they're like, okay, I know what I'm going to hear. Then, so that was in Chinese. And I give them the view in English. So I use very easy language that's meaning focused, that they can understand. They already know, okay, my teacher is going to talk about the rules of basketball. And then they hear the rules of basketball. And then I can review it in Chinese. So they just heard the English. And then afterwards, I can just ask questions. I can say, I can't speak about basketball in Chinese, but like if you like, oh, 你可以走多少 something, I don't know. You know what I mean though. You ask them questions to make sure they understood the English. Okay, so Chinese, tell them what they're going to learn. English, teach them. Chinese, make sure they understand. And then you've got both languages. They're speaking about basketball in Chinese, and they're hearing about it in English. I think this is a good solution, and it's the one that I think we're going to talk about a lot today. Just really quickly, I'm curious, how do you feel about flexible multiplicity? Did I convince you? Like, oh, that sounds good. If I convinced you over here, if you're like, you're not a good salesperson, but maybe stand here, over here, like, what are you talking about? You can come over here, all right? So choose a side. It's okay to hate it. Oh, be careful. Why do you not like it? Oh, it's just like, oh, paise. Ask a friend. Okay, it's okay. What do you like about it? Yeah.
I think it's a good way to keep the Chinese version and the English. So it's a good good option for students to get to know the first step of English about the PE class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's good. But here's an argument against it, and it's what I think you said earlier about strict separation. If we do this, then what about the amount of English? Are we worried about that? I don't think we have to worry about it, okay? I'm not going to teach you theory today, but there is theory that I could share with you that would tell you why you should not worry about that, okay? So I'm just going to simply say that. I have theory to back up that this is okay. Yes, we need to make sure that students are getting a lot of English, but it's also important that they get a lot of Chinese. That helps more than just all English, okay? So go ahead and take a seat. I'm kind of gonna, so there is not always a simple solution in life. So it isn't usually always choosing everything. So I've actually thought about, if I chose all three, how might I use it in class? This is the part where you tell me, Dr. Graham, you have no idea what we do in PE. I tried to think about, like, what do you do in PE? So I assumed that PE starts with a warm-up, like stretching or something, okay? If maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I think we can think about our warm-up as a strict separation, meaning we can use warm-up as strictly English and we don't have to worry about anything else. Because we're talking about, so what do they usually do? Like, you say like a stretch, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you say the next stretch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think. I don't know. They can learn the names of the stretch pretty quickly. And if you do the same thing every time, then they'll always know it. So maybe at first you do flexible convergent. You say the stretch in English and you say the stretch in Chinese. But then if you do the same stretches each time, I don't know. Can you tell I'm not good at PE? If you do the same thing every time, the students will actually start to say it. Because I imagine in Chinese, the teacher doesn't have to do the warm-up. The students can say the warm-up by themselves, right? You teach it maybe day 1, and then you have like a class leader do the warm-up, and they say the things for everybody. You can do the same thing all in English. At first, you give them both Chinese and English so they start to understand. But then later, you start only using English, and then they will do all English. And that is meaning focused. You're not really teaching language. They're just learning the meaning, and they're doing it. Okay? The second thing that I think you do in PE is you'll do skills instruction. So you probably focus on one thing. So maybe in basketball, today we focus on passing. And then maybe another class we focus on, I don't know, rebounding or something. Those are the 2 words I know of basketball. For skills instruction, I think we have to do flexible multiplicity. Okay? Meaning that we use both languages. I want the students to be able to talk about the skill in Chinese, and I want them to be able to talk about the skill in English. I want them to be able to do both. Okay? So in this case, I might preview in Mandarin, view it in English, and then review it in Mandarin. Okay? So to preview in Chinese. Today, I'm going to teach you how to pass. English, I talk about it. Chinese, okay. What's the first thing you need to know? Say it in Chinese. What's the second thing you need to know? Say it in Chinese. Third thing, they get both languages. Okay? I think this is very important for skills instruction. And then I think the third thing that you do, yes?
So, may we change the view and review in different languages?
Absolutely. So let's have that conversation. Because if I'm thinking about a geography class, if I'm talking to geography teachers today, I'm probably going to tell them to do the preview in Chinese, the view in Chinese, and the review in English. That's probably what I would tell them to do. I was thinking, when I was thinking about PE, I was thinking, is it possible to do it differently? Tell me why you might do it differently.
I'm teaching high school, so some technique is too difficult for me and for the student to understand in English.
Okay.
So maybe I will try to teach them in Chinese. Or maybe in English and with a word in Chinese. Maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So and then review, I think that basically understand, they have some concept. So then I can review in English.
I like it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I think sometimes, like you said sometimes the skills I'm teaching is too difficult to do this one. So maybe I need to do this. You might change every skill. Like some skills, you might think, wow, this is so easy. I can do the preview in English, I could do the view in English, and I could do the review in Chinese. Some skills are really hard. So you'll do preview, view, review like this. And some skills are in the middle, and you can do it this way. So yes, you will change it. You're all very smart teachers, and you know your students the best. So you can make those choices. What's important is that you always, I think what's important is that you always have both languages. And that you do these languages in a block. I don't think it is a good idea for you to say one thing in English, then say one thing in Chinese, say one thing in English. I think it needs to be a block of English, a block of Chinese. Why? Because students, if you do one thing in Chinese, one thing in English, they will just listen to the Chinese. They're never going to listen to the English, right? Never. So you have to give them a block of English where they have to listen, okay? And that's how they will learn. A lot of teachers do what I just said. They'll say one thing in Chinese and then say one thing in English, one thing in Chinese, and the students will never listen to the English and they will never learn. So we have to keep it in blocks. Make sense? Okay. Then the game rules. So I figure you start with a warm-up. You teach a skill, and then they go play the game, where they practice the skill maybe, okay? Here, I said flexible multiplicity or flexible conversion. I think you could do this with the game rules, where you preview, view, and review the game rules. Or maybe you try to do it all in English, and then when they look confused, you add Chinese. It depends on how complicated the game rules are. Kind of the same conversation we had about this. If the game is easy, maybe you could do all English. If the game is complicated, think about how you're going to arrange the languages. Okay? Yes?
I got one question that there are many chances that we have to give our students feedback. So if I'm going to give them individual feedback, what language should I use, or it depends on the student's ability?
I love that question. Something I should have added to the. I should have thought about it. Okay, so feedback. What do you think? What do other people think before I answer? Yes.
I think when you give student feedback, maybe you can use English first, then it depends by Chinese. So we can say English to check the student can understand the meanings or not, and you change your language to let them know.
So what I would say, I guess, what I would, how I would modify what you said. One way to do this. So I'm going to give the feedback in English, and then I'm going to check understanding in Chinese. Kind of like a view review. So give them the feedback in English, but then check in Chinese. So for example, you need to use your left hand when you do that. Or, oh, I know. I watched a basketball video when I was preparing for this. You need to make sure that you use your fingers to shoot the ball, okay? So I'll say that to them in English, okay? But then I'm going to maybe ask them, 我刚说什么? And then they say it in Chinese. I check in Chinese to make sure they understand it. And if they don't, then I tell them in Chinese, okay? That's a way to do it. Other ways to do it, I'll tell you, I went to a junior high school in Geelong last semester, and I taught a science lesson for 4 weeks with them to just like show the teachers bilingual education. And at the end, the students had to present their science project to the class. And I said, you have to say one sentence in English. And there was a student in the back. He raises his hand and he says, can I do the whole thing in English? I was like, sure. So to go to what you said, think about the student. Because there's going to be students that it's going to be very hard to give the feedback in English to them. And maybe today, I will just give the feedback in Chinese to this student. But then I have to think, how can I build that student? Because maybe that student had an English teacher in elementary school that just told them like how terrible they were, and now they just hate English. So me as the English PE teacher, I know this. And so today I'm going to use just Chinese to help this student feel comfortable and get the information. But then I need to start finding ways to add a little bit of English in to help build that student up. So I think my advice would be, in normal cases, do this, but also think about the student. Sometimes just use Chinese if you think that's what is best for them. And then try to help them little by little add in English. Yeah. Any other ideas about this? I think it's a good question. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Any questions about this? Okay. So how do we do this now? We've talked about like maybe how we might plan it on a big scope. But now how do we support the students? By the way, I know we're all PE people and health people, and we shouldn't sit down too long because sitting down is going to kill us. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Stand up, walk around? Yeah. Let's take a 5-minute break, then we'll come back and we'll start talking about this, all right?他们有跟你分享这个吗？或是你还是听不懂？
有，学姐有跟我说这是。
好，你还有问题？你还要问吗？或是你 OK？
努力中。
好，没关系。
我还不知道我的问题在哪。
好，没关系，没关系，慢慢来。这个双语的双语是一条路。你要就是先开始，就是了解一下，然后就是慢慢累积。所以我觉得你应该会。所以如果你有问题，或是你要回答问题用中文，这也可以了。就是看你啊。然后我也努力用中文 试试看我可不可以回答，因为你对英文是跟我一样，我对中文就是没有。
你的中文应该是比我英文好。
应该不会吧？我只是可以沟通而已。尤其是这个那么深的题目，有可能如果他们今天说哦 ，Dr. Graham 你要用全中文教课，我就不行，我就回美国。
So you're from America?
Yes. Yeah. Where's the closest restroom? I think we got that on mic, right? I'm really the mic here. Yeah. Nobody needs to hear me pee.
I guess just remind me to put it back on.
Okay. 应该是那个会长来上课，不是我在，因为那个会长。
但是校人是吧？那我就是因为接下来我们要就是体育圈，在哪里？大家可以问吗？他双语没有天赋，
他过我眼长，他在忙吧？还是因为讨厌？
我等他考完开了，好像，所以你们今年要考双语。
加油！真的啊，商乐包有双语吗？是考试。我们才22，真的很夸张。可能是可爱的女生。不要可爱。
对啊，考口说比你准备要看他的风气啊。可以啊，我真口说不风气好多，他可以自己考了。对啊，我也是在判上，然后上面有写去整班他们都在课边有。所以说，
老师，你可以上课吗？
我多一口一个，不错。可能大家都可以跟得上。下张西法语，我觉得因为阅读的变好。然后日本多对，电影用了上次差20。差那么少，那时候在申请日本的时候，如果努力的话，觉得他的缺点在中文，然后我就是对吧？我里面有个老师，这边没有可能。他是你要到，然后他最低的最坏的是你要拿到东西，一个是越南话强，的问题多一些。
还要申请，他今年要说，对啊，他说他要来做那个料的，是你店说的，对，那个流程来比较第一个 it's like this, but teenagers are hard. I used to teach junior high. I know.
All right, I think. Are we good to start?
Yes.
All right, so during the break, I had a conversation with the teacher that's going to teach you later, and he said something that's very interesting. So when we talk about meaning-focused input and meaning-focused output, he said he asked me, he's like, in PE, I feel like it might be difficult to do 50%, 50%. And I said, yes. In PE, with your students, I think you're going to be doing a lot more meaning-focused input, where they're listening to things that you're saying. Because in PE, you know, maybe there's not as many opportunities to output, even in Chinese. Like you ask them questions, but in that kind of class, it's uneven. But what about performing arts? If we talk about performing arts, it's a completely different situation. Performing arts, meaning-focused output, Chinese, English, no matter what time, it's way up because they're performing. And so when we think about bilingual education across a school, it's okay if in PE it's 20% here, because in performing arts, they've got 80% here, and the students receive equal. Does that make sense? So while I still want to encourage you to try to get them to do output, even if it's just at the end of class, what did you learn today? I learned blah, blah, blah. You don't have to stress about trying to make it equal. If you can, great. If you can't, that's okay. It can work across the school. Does that make sense? So you'll have to be creative. What I'm going to talk about in the next part is mostly about how to make meaning-focused input work. Okay, that's most of my lesson today. But we will talk, if there's time, a little bit about output and how you might use that. So how do I support student understanding in bilingual PE? So I came up with 5 things, 5 ideas. Idea 1, have set routines with the same language, like stretching. You use the same words every time. That can help make it meaning and help them understand. Number 2, model everything you do. Everything you say, try to do something so that they can see it. Use initiation, response, feedback. We'll talk about that in a second. Simple language. Let me really highlight that. Simple language. You have to think about what your students can understand and only use that language. And then finally, preview, review, and view. We talked about that. So let's talk about each one. Start the class the same way. Every day, it'll start with, good morning, class. And then they'll say, good morning, teacher, whatever your name is, or however they say it. And then it's always, let's begin. And then, I don't know, I just made something up. Hamstring stretch. You probably have better names for it than I did. I spent like a lot of time trying to Google things, and I couldn't find anything, so I just gave up. But you'll think about the stretches, okay? And then the students, you'll say, let's begin, hamstring stretch. And then the students will say, hamstring stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then whatever, I don't know, arm stretch. 1, 2, and then they say arm stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. And you use the same thing. My recommendation is that you, before you start teaching a class, you have a script. You have a piece of paper that says what you will always say. You can probably do it without the paper, but the importance is that it's set. It's the same. And so you use the paper to help make sure you stay the same every time. And they know what to expect. So I'd like you to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes with your table, maybe on the back if you have a piece of paper or something. Start to write your routine. What routine might you have? Because you know names better than I do. What might you do in your class? I'll give you 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Write down, how will you begin your class? What language will you use? All right?
那你会想就是固定让学生们让说以后真的会固定讲这个，就是学完就会知道有那几句话在背后的话，但是就是那几句话要学生会复习。那如果想要让这些人在做
你要说对，但是我这个遇到后悔的我觉得我对他说想 from left 或是 back left， 所以我会跟他讲，对啊，因为太难。可是对他们来说，所以我们不会用这些字，所以他们只听得懂 foot left。
Let me challenge you on that.
Okay.
So, one thing that I hear is that people feel like in a class they talk about, oh, that language is too hard. But if you hear the same word every single day for a year, will it be too hard?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no.
No.
So if you tell them at the beginning, you say hamstring, but you tell them in Chinese, like hamstring is this, and I will use this word every class. And here's why I feel this way. My brother-in-law, my wife's brother, he cannot speak English to save his life. But he is a PhD student in meteorology, in weather. He can talk about weather, but he can't talk about anything else with me. He has all of these very complicated weather words that he knows because he says them all the time. But he can't say like, hey, how are you? It's so weird. And so sometimes English teachers will tell like PE teachers or science, oh, that word's too hard, don't teach it. But if you use the word all the time, it's okay. The students can do it. So I would not be scared about, now, one thing I would say is like, if that's the wrong way to say it, because I'm not PE teacher. I don't know. Then don't say that. But don't think a word is too hard. It's okay to use hard words as long as you do it every day. Now, if you're only going to use the hard word one class, then maybe don't use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I won't use hard word in warm up.
I want you to use the words that are correct. And so I don't want you to think hard, or because again, you're probably going to use this word all the time. There is no hard. I guess this is a really good conversation that I started back here. So, so there was a question. Hamstring. What this group said was that hamstring is a difficult word, so that we should not use it. We should say something else. And I disagree. Here's why I disagree. How many times will you do the warm-up in a year?
Every time.
Every time. So how many in a school year? Just estimate. How many times will you do a warm-up in 1 year?
Maybe 3 times.
What? So you have PE once a week or twice a week? Twice a week. So there's 40 weeks in a school year, so 80 times. You're going to do this warm-up, the same warm-up, exact same thing, 80 times in 1 year. How many times are you going to do it in across junior high? 240. You're going to do it 240 times in a year. Hamstring is a hard word. But if I tell you hamstring 240 times every week for 3 years, I say it, and then the students say it. Because again, look, let's begin. Hamstring stretch. And all the students say hamstring stretch. And they do that 240 times. Will that word be hard? Probably not. So we have to be careful. We have to talk about when we choose our words, we have to hard versus right. Hard versus right. Yes, the word is hard, but if you use it all the time, it won't be hard anymore. And I told them about my wife's brother. My wife's brother cannot speak English at all. When he sees me, he can't even say, like, how are you? It's so weird. But he's getting a PhD in meteorology, in weather. And he can talk about things like, I don't even know, like words that I don't even know, that like have to do with like hurricanes and stuff and typhoons. He knows words I don't know. Isn't that weird? A guy that cannot speak any English, but he has all of these hard words that he knows. It's because he uses them all the time. He probably can't tell you, what's a good example? He probably can't tell you leaf, like a leaf on a tree. But he can tell you really complicated things about weather. So my point is, don't think about hard. Think about right and using it. Because if they hear it all the time, they will get it. Now, let me give you a different example of when we have to be careful about hard words. A warm-up, I'm going to use those words 240 times. So I can use any words because eventually they will get it. I will use Chinese and English maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, but then they're going to really know those words after many times. But here's a difference. Let's say in Unit 1, I'm talking about something. Maybe badminton. No, let's do tennis. I don't know anything about badminton. I don't know anything about tennis either. I don't know why I chose that. But maybe there's like some really technical term for like tennis. And you're only going to talk about this technical word for 1 week. You're only going to use this hard word 1 week. You're not going to do it 240 times like you do in the warm-up. You're going to use it 1 week. Should you use the hard word? No. Because it's not a word they're going to use all the time. And that's the difference. Are we using the hard word all the time? If yes, if we use it every week, then choose right. Don't worry about hard. If we only use that word 1 time in 1 week in 3 years, don't use the hard word. That's when I think you're right. That's when I would say, yes, you don't want to use the hard word. And so with set routines, it's okay to use big words because you use it all the time. Does that make sense? We want things that they use all the time. No matter how hard the word is, we want them to get it. Okay? What did you put in your routine? I'm curious, what types of things did you say? No hamstring stretch?
Neck stretch.
Back stretch. Okay, yeah, back stretch. Oh, neck stretch. Okay, yeah, neck stretch. What else?
Yeah, maybe before stretch, we'll do the roll call or check.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. And you can probably do that all in English. That's easy enough, right? I think so. Yeah. So you do you call their names, like who's here. What else?
I would say the schedule for dance class.
Okay. Is that going to be the same every class?
No, it's not really.
Okay, so that is not necessarily part of the set routine. So right now I'm talking about a set routine that we want to say all the time. And I'm saying that's all in English. So when we talk about the schedule, if it's easy enough, we can do it in English, or we might choose to do it in Chinese. But we're talking about a set routine right now. What else? Any other ideas? Oh, sorry.
Our call as athletic leader, and let lead one out now.
Okay, so can you give me an example of how you would do that? Give me the exact sentence you will use every class.
First, good morning, everyone. Okay, and first our class athletic leader.
Okay, so where is our class athletic leader? And then the students will say, okay, yeah, teacher, I am here. And so you will write this down. And you'll say that every time. You'll say, good morning, class. Where is the athletic leader? You'll never change that. It'll always be, where is the athletic leader? And then the student will always say, whoever it is, they know, teacher, I am here. And it's the same every time. So even if on day 1 they don't understand that question, they will learn it after 240 times. And then what might be next? The stretches?
That leader one out now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And you had one thing you wanted to add?
I want to ask if we just say, today I'm going to teach, and then we have a blank in here, and let the student concentrate to listen us what we are going to teach, the purpose and the topic.
But would you do that after, forgive me, I'm not a PE teacher, would you do that after you do your stretches? Because when I worked at a school in Taiwan many years ago, I'd be walking in the hallway and I'd see the PE class, and it would always start with the students line up, they knew where to line up, and then they were always doing stretches. And then after, the PE teacher maybe gave the schedule and then said what we're doing today. And what I'm talking about is kind of that first part that's always the same, that we never change. So again, kind of when we talk about the schedule, or when we talk about what we're going to teach, That I don't think is part of this, because that changes. This is all about the same thing. And we do that all in English, because even, again, if they don't know it on day 1, on day 240, they will know the whole thing. They learn language without you ever teaching it, just because they hear it so many times. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to think about this. Make a script, write it down, sit at your desk before you start the class and write down everything the teacher will say and everything the students will say. And always keep it the same, because they will learn it each time. Okay? All right. The next part is where things sort of change. But there are some things that will stay the same. So when I think about PE, when you introduce a game, as an English teacher, I think about this as a procedure genre. It always follows the same steps. The words change for every game, but it follows the same steps. So you'll always say something like, today we will play, but then this changes each time. And you'll always tell them next the equipment they need. So if we're playing basketball, today we will play basketball. We need a basketball and 2 teams. First, and now we're going to talk about the steps. First, you do a jump ball. Yes, I don't know. And then next, the team goes. You're smart. You can figure that out. You don't need me to tell you. And then you do the rules. The point of this is that when they're listening to English, and you do this every time, they will always know, first the teacher's going to tell us what game we're playing. Even though if I don't understand what game they're playing, I know that first sentence is the game we're playing. And then I always know the teacher's going to tell me what I need. I always know we need, and I'm trying to understand. It follows the same pattern. And what this helps with is so the students, they know what language comes next. Even if they're not sure about the language, they can kind of know, okay, every class, the teacher says this at this time. So I know what I'm trying to listen for. You have questions about this? Okay, so here's what I want you to try. I want you to try to practice doing this with rock, paper, scissors. A very easy game. Talk with your class. I'll start you off. What would be the first sentence we say for rock, paper, scissors? Today?
Today we will play rock, paper, scissors.
Good. So you would say that every time. Just change for the game. We need 2 people. And yeah, you need your hand, but hopefully that comes with the 2 people. I don't know. You know, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Huh? Oh yeah, I guess you could play by yourself, I guess. We always have special children that will want to do that. That's okay. So today we will play rock, paper, scissors. We need 2 people. And the students know that second sentence, it's going to be like, what I need. Okay, what do we do first?
Make a group of 2.
Okay, make a group of 2. Next.
Bow to each other.
Huh?
Bow to each other.
Bow to each other?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Next, bow to each other. Okay. Then?
Listen to instruction. Teacher's instruction.
Oh, this is the instruction. So like I think, what do you mean?
I mean, next, like, teacher will say, let's go. Or 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So yeah, if it's teacher directed, then the teacher will say, let's go. And then finally,
winner raise hands.
Winner raise hands. Okay. Yeah, that's one way to do this. So here's what I did. I thought about this. Is this the, yeah. Today, we will play rock, paper, scissors. We need 2 people. First, put your hand in a fist. Next, move your fist and say rock, paper, scissors. Finally, say shoot and do rock, paper, paper, or scissors. Rock, paper, or scissors. Okay? Finally say that. That's the instructions. And I tried to make it as simple as possible. Use as simple language as possible. And then we need to talk about the rules. Okay? So with rock, paper, scissors, you can only do 3 things. This is rock, this is paper, this is scissors. The rules are, if rock and paper, paper wins. If rock and scissors, rock wins. If paper and scissors, scissors wins. Let's play. Very simple, and it follows the same pattern. You can use this pattern for every game. Some games are harder, some games are easier. But the point is, we want the student to feel comfortable with the pattern. They know what to expect. Okay? Any questions on that?
Does it mean that we have to prepare handouts every time?
Okay, we're going to talk about that next, or in a couple steps. But maybe. It depends, because every classroom is different. But I'll tell you why I think it's a good idea to do it. The next thing. Model everything and use gestures. So there's this country song. You know, I'm from Texas, so we like country music. And you say it best when you say nothing at all. And it's supposed to be a love song. But we can apply it to PE. If I do these instructions like this, there are going to be some students that hear a lot of words and don't know what I'm saying. So we have to help them. First, we help them with the pattern, so they kind of know what to expect. But then we have to help them with gestures. So, even if they don't know the words, we want them to be able to understand. So, we try to do a lot of different things to help them. So, for example, if they have to step backward, if I'm giving their instructions and it's like, first, step backward. And when I say it, I do it. Next, jump up. Then, turn around. Finally, sit down. We want to be able to do it so they can see and hear at the same time. So here's what I'd like you to try to do. So if I do this, the first thing, let's pretend I can't say any words at all. I'm going to do something, and I'm not going to say anything, and then I want you to do it afterwards. 4 steps, okay? Do it. So 4 steps, yeah. So the first thing I said was, step to the side, put your hands out, put your hands up, finally put your hands like this. So when I'm doing the lesson, I need to make sure I can do all of these things without any words, and then I add the words in. With your group, rock, paper, scissors. Explain the game without saying any words to your group, and then add the words the second time. Do you understand the exercise? Yes. Okay, try it with your group. Go ahead.
这代表就算那些
然后你再加上。
我的那个东西把一个人拉上来可以Two of you show the answer.
All right, go ahead and sit down. So I want to go back to this point. Why do we do this? Because we want our students to have meaning-focused input. Do they need to know every word we say? No. You don't have to teach every single word. That's not your job. Do they need to understand everything you say? Yes. And this can help. I saw, when I looked around the room, when you first started this, everybody was like, what'd I do? But then as you started to think about it, you found different ways. Like I saw some people like, first, put your hand in a fist. Then say, rock, paper, scissors. And then I saw a lot of different ways of showing the winners. Some people were like, you know, but they were all different ways so that even if you could not say anything, every student understands. That's what's most important. Is this hard? Yes, it's very hard. But it is very, very important for students because after some time, they will start connecting what they see with what they hear. After 280 times, they will start to notice more things. And after 12 years, they will really understand. And maybe this won't be important anymore after 12 years. But right now, they need this a lot. So I'm going to encourage you. I guess I need to say this. The biggest complaint about bilingual education, the thing teachers hate about bilingual education, not just in Taiwan, but around the world. All the teachers say, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of time to plan. And that's the truth. This takes a lot of time to think about it. But I think if you do it 1 year and you spend a lot of time, year 2 will be easier, year 3 will be easier, and then it's just going to be natural. Okay? So I really encourage you. It's hard, but I think it's very, very important. Okay? Next one. Use initiation, response, feedback. So what is initiation? It means you say something and you ask a question. And I think this is a point. Today I'm not talking about language levels, but when we think about different language levels of students, a 0 is no language. A 1 is they know some words. Chair, table, keys. A 2 is they can do sentences. It is a chair. It is a table. A 3 is they can do multiple sentences and maybe vary those sentences. This is a chair. These are keys. They can change it a little bit. And then a 4 is talk a lot. They feel okay to have a conversation. So we have to assume that most of our class, right now, most of our class is here. We're going to have probably, I'd say, 75% of the class is here. Then you're probably going to have 20% that went to Bushy Bend since a long time and was here. And then you're just going to have that 5%, like 3 kids in a class that will just talk. They love English. English is their favorite thing in the world. And they just don't stop talking. Even when you want them to stop, like stop talking, they just keep talking. Okay? So if we have most of it here, then that means when we give input, we need to stop after each sentence to make sure they understand. We need to give them small things. So first you'll say something and then ask a question. The student will answer the question and then you say yes or no. I'll give you an example. Today we will sing a song. What are we doing today? Good. First, you need to take a breath. What do we need to do first? Great. Next, we need to sing the note. I don't know. What are we doing next? Sing the note. We break everything into small sentences. So they only have to think about one little piece. They only need one little piece. But here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to practice that. Going back to rock, paper, scissors. Practice this with your group. I want you to give a step, ask a question, and then give the feedback. Okay? Practice it with your group. I'll give you 3 minutes.
While we are get some rock.
So as usual, things take longer than I planned for. So I want to ask you what you think is most important. Do you want me to, because I'm worried if I do the video thing, they won't have much time to actually practice on their own, but I'm giving them a little practice now, so maybe that's good enough, because later I know they'll do the micro teaching and they can think about this. So do you want me to, do you prefer me to do the video and the where to find language like for kids on YouTube, or do you prefer that I give them more time to practice on their own with a different exercise?
I think we can skip how to appreciate video.
Okay.
The thing, how to teach them. Just show them the link they can find resources
Okay.
on YouTube. Maybe more useful for them in that stage.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then whatever time left, do questions and then give them some practice on this whole sequence. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I'm also curious. So the PE teacher that was here, did some of the things I'm saying, because he has the experience, conflict with what he does, or?
No, I think he also shared the same idea with you.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, he said he just wants to understand what is going on. Yeah, I think he got most of the idea, so just go back.
Okay. Cool. Is he doing this afternoon, or he's doing another day?
Next week.
Next week. Okay. Cool. I wish I could come and watch, but I have things every Saturday.
Yeah, but you can just come to review, to see their progress.
Yeah. All right. I would like one person to give an example, just a short example. Just start it. How did you do it? Who'd like to do it?
Okay, I will show to Peter.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Today we will play rock, paper, scissors. So can you tell me what we are going to do?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, very nice. And we need to 2 persons in a group. So how many persons we need to in a group?
2.
Yes. And the first one is we need to listen carefully. First one, we need to reach your hands. So first step, what we are going to do.
Good. All right, so we're going to stop there. Now, if you're doing this with a whole class, there's a couple reasons I'm doing this. There's a couple reasons I recommend this. First reason is because most students can't handle more than a sentence in English. So we have to break it up. Second thing, my idea is when you're doing this, the whole class answers. So if you're saying, what are we playing today? The whole class says rock, paper, scissors. Why? Because it makes sure that the junior high boy is not just like thinking about the junior high girl while you're speaking English. You know what I mean? Because for some students, if you just say a lot of English, they're going to be thinking about their girlfriend. They're not going to be listening. If you do this, they have to stay listening because they have to say it together. And if they're not listening, they hear everybody say it. So they're still getting the language. So it supports their language, but it also supports their attention. They have to pay attention, or there's no choice. They have to do it. Okay? The downside of this is it takes longer. So it does take a little bit more time to do it this way. But when you have low levels of English, there's not really a good solution. Yeah. Okay. This is the part that I think is the most difficult. And this is the part where I asked your professor, I was like, is this a good idea? I don't know if this is a good idea. So the first thing is use simple language. You have to use very simple language that everybody understands. So the key is less is more. So I think when I listen to you say the IRF, when you asked the question, it was a little longer than what I think it needed to be. I think you said, I wish I had the recording and could back it up. But you said, today we're going to play rock, paper, scissors. Okay, so what are we going to play today? Less is more. Today we're playing rock, paper, scissors. What are we playing? Very short. You want to try to, even though your English is very fluent and like you could just like talk, you want to try to keep it short. So when I'm teaching low-level English learners, I have to be very, very careful because I can just talk all day long. I can use many, many different words and say whatever I want. So I have to be careful to make sure my language is short. And I think because a lot of you have really good English, you will have to do the same thing. Try to say it in the least amount of words possible. What are we playing? What is first? What is next? Short. So think about simple language. And in the beginning, you may need to write this down so that you can check yourself. Make sure you don't say too much. But after a while, it will become natural. You'll be okay. You won't need to write it down anymore. Okay, so the second part, this is the part I wasn't sure about, because usually you teach outside. So I had this nice little PowerPoint. Where if I was in a classroom, they can see the words, they can see the picture. So even if they don't know the words, they see the picture and they can know what we're doing today. And I will say the same thing here. So as I'm saying it, today we will play rock, paper, scissors. And they can see it. They can see my gestures. They can see the words. They can see the pictures. Lots of ways to know the language. But you don't have a projector outside. So, not you, this one. So maybe you bring a binder. Today we will play rock, paper, scissors. What are we playing today? Rock, paper, scissors. And what's better is if I have a helper. Can you be my helper? So I have a team leader. Will you hold my binder? Today we will play rock, paper, scissors. What will we play today? Rock, paper, scissors. We need 2 people. How many people? 2. Good. First, put your hand in a fist. What do we do first? Very good, thank you. Next, move your fist. What do we do with the fist? Move. And say rock, paper, scissors. What are we going to say? Rock, paper, scissors. All right, cool, thank you. If we combine all of the things we've said, they have so many ways to understand the English, we don't need Chinese. Okay? And then afterwards, when you do the review, 所以今天我们要玩什么? Oh, 剪刀石头布. And then, you know, that type of thing. Okay? So you have every way that they can understand even when the class is in English. This takes a lot of work, but you only have to do it the first year, and you just keep it. And then year 2, you just take it out, put it in the binder, everything's ready. So year 1 is kind of shinku, sorry. But after year 1, it'll be okay. Here's what, I will say this though. If you're really a good student and you like to prepare, while you're a student now, start making these. So when you're a teacher, you don't have to. So maybe you know you'll teach basketball later and you're really bored on the weekend. Your boyfriend or girlfriend went somewhere else and you're like, I've got nothing to do. Oh, I'll make my PE binder for basketball. You could do it now. You don't have to wait until you get to a school. The final thing, we've talked about this already, but I want to emphasize it. Provide a preview before you do all of this, provide the preview. And then the review after. So what is a preview? A preview is kind of like a movie commercial. Think about a movie commercial. The commercial comes on. It says the name of the movie. So in our case, let's say our movie is rock, paper, scissors. So we'll tell them, 今天我们要玩剪刀石头布. And then we're going to tell them some things. We might tell them what we need. 所以我等一下我跟你说，我们需要2个人玩这个游戏. So maybe I'm telling them that, but I'm not going to tell them everything. Because if a movie commercial tells you everything, tells you the beginning, middle, end, you're not going to go see the movie. It's kind of like my wife sometimes watches on Facebook this guy that talks about the movies and talks about the whole movie. And so she never goes to see the movie. She watches the video on YouTube. Don't be that guy. You have to, your preview cannot tell them everything. They have to listen for something. But what it can tell them is the things that you think are really hard. So for example, so I'll tell them, I will tell them the game we're playing. I will tell them, I'm going to tell them what they need, but I won't tell them what it is. 所以等一下我们要玩这个游戏，我会跟你说我们需要什么，所以你要注意听。And then let's say the rules are really complicated. 所以这个游戏的规则是有一点复杂，所以我先跟你说这个规则，可是我用英文说的时候，你要注意听。And so I might tell them all the rules, or I might just tell them 3 of the rules and say, 最后一个规则我先不说，你要注意听我的英文。I give them enough preview, but not everything, because we want them to listen to the English. Depending on the topic, the preview might be short, or it might be a little longer. Use what you think is best, okay? And then the review is about making sure everyone understands. So I don't think you should tell them anything. You should just ask questions. So for example, if we're playing rock, paper, scissors, 如果有石头，然后有剪刀，谁赢? And then they tell you in Chinese, just to make sure they understand the rules. You don't tell them the rules again in the review. You just ask them questions to make sure they know. Okay? So I think this is a really good way to help students get the Chinese they need, because they're going to hear and use the Chinese in the review and the preview, but they also get the English. Okay? Any questions on how to do this? Okay. So these are the 5 tips. Have a set routine, model everything, use IRF, use simple language and visuals when possible, add text when possible, and then provide preview, view, review. We're going to practice this in a second. But first, I want to talk about a topic. I know some of you today said that you were scared because you're worried about your language. You're worried about the English. This is something I added this morning. Sorry. So you've got to pay attention. It's like preview, but I didn't give you everything. You got to really look now, okay? It's simple. There are 2 places where I think you could find language. I'm going to talk about the second one first. What I tell all teachers is that YouTube is a really great place to find language if you need to know how to say something. So for example, what did you look up, Henry? What was something, so I have some success. What was something you looked up that was good?
Soccer for kids.
Okay. So I'm always going to do something for kids. So I'm going to teach soccer. So soccer for kids. Okay? And I'm going to maybe click on the second one's good. All right.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm going to do this one just because. Go buy your milk tea. And use Uber Eats to get your milk tea.
If you wonder how come I'm sitting, I just have to be in the shop with our Meet Alex, my little student. Today we're gonna show you 3 extremely simple football tricks, and then I'll try to teach you. Let's go, Alex. I'm Alex's personal coach for about a year, and most of the time we've been working on coordination, physics, and the ball fielding.
Okay. So I'm a teacher, and I'm trying to find words that I should use in my PE class. So I'm watching this. This is not a video I show my students. This is for me to find real language. Okay? So we've been working on coordination. So maybe that's the skill I'm looking for. So I'm going to take that word, coordination. Maybe I didn't know what coordination was, but I watched this video. I'm like, oh yeah, coordination. And when I do my skills, today we will learn coordination. What will we learn?
Coordination.
Yeah, and now I have the language I need. So if you're worried about your English, YouTube is a way that you can find all the words you need. I don't know how good this video is, so I didn't watch it, but sometimes you'll have to look at different videos. When I was doing a workshop before, what was the topic? I think it was time zones. So I was pretending to be a geography teacher who didn't know how to talk about time zones. I had a textbook, and it said time zones in my textbook in Chinese, but I didn't know how to talk about it. So I looked time zone for kids. I find a lesson in easy English, and I write down the words I need. Okay? Most of you, it sounds like your English is really good, so you may not need this very often. But if you ever do for a hard topic, this is a great place. Always put for kids, because you know that the language will be easier for you and will be easier for your students. Okay? The other thing, and I thought this was super cool. You probably won't think it's as cool as I thought it was, but I thought this was incredible. I found this yesterday. Such good luck. So you know when you were in junior high and high school, the English teacher made you learn the first 100 words, the first 200, the first 1,000. You had to learn the first 1,000 words. Who decides what the 1,000 words are? Well, actually, we use research. We take all this language from TV and books, and we put it all into a computer, and we find out which words are the most popular, and we make a list. Somebody did this for fitness. They took a bunch of fitness videos and a bunch of fitness magazines, put it into a computer, and found out the most popular words. And so at this website, it's new general service list, fitness English list. At this website, you can download, this is the website, and it talks a little bit about how they made the list, if that's of interest to you. So you can see that they took 9 million, almost 10 million words from fitness stuff and made the list. And then you can download it by frequency. And it's this word. So in fitness, the most popular word is exhale. So, is that a word that you might want to teach your students? Yeah, because it is the most used word in fitness. They use exhale in all different types of words. Inhale is the second one. So if you do breathing with your students, instead of saying in and saying out, it's okay to say inhale, exhale, because it's used a lot and they will see it a lot. So you don't just say in and out, say inhale, exhale. Hip, toe, mat, yoga, workout, elbow. Repetition. There's a word that looks kind of hard, but it's very, very popular. It is the 9th most popular word in fitness. Repetition means repeat. So you might want to use that word, okay? And again, going back to what we say, 240 times? 240 times in junior high? Every time you practice, instead of saying, let's do it 5 times, say, let's do 5 repetitions. Why are we going to say, let's do 5 repetitions? Because it's the 9th most popular word in fitness. So we could say, let's repeat 5 times, but that's not what they're really going to see if they read a fitness magazine or watch a fitness. They're going to hear the word repetition. So let's give them that word 240 times during junior high. I think this list is very, very important. I think it's a really good list. And it's one of those things that you can, if you think, oh, should I do that word? Is it too hard? This list can answer your question. If the word is well, flatten seems like an easy word. Hike seems like an easy word. But like if it's at the bottom of the list, like omega, you probably don't need to use that word. It's number 574. Like, don't bother, okay? But words like, here's an interesting word, flexor. So like one of you, I think that's a muscle, right? I think flexor's a muscle, is it? I don't know either. Okay, so none of us know what this word is, but it's 126, so maybe we should find out what that word is and see if we want to use it, okay? I don't know why this is on prayer. I hope I win. Huh? Oh, it's a gesture. See, this is why English teachers should not teach PE, because I guess that's something important. Okay? So, anyway, I think this is a very important list, and it's something that as PE teachers, I think you should do. And you're very lucky, because there isn't lists for all the other subjects. Somebody should make those. Okay. All right, so those are the two things where I think if you want to improve your fitness language, you don't need to improve your regular English. You need to improve your fitness English, because you need to be like my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law can talk about weather. He can't talk about anything else. And for you, it's cool if you can talk about other things, but you have to talk about PE. So make sure you know the PE words, and you're okay. All right? Okay. So we have about 40 minutes left. Here's what I'd like to do. I want to give you time to practice what we've done. So I want you can do in groups of 2 or 3, groups of 2 or 3. I want you to work together. I want you to think of a very simple game. You can't do rock, paper, scissors, but you can do something else. Think about another game. And I want you to try to go through, number 1, you'll use the pattern, model, initiation, response. And I want you to come up with how you will teach that. And I will give you time in maybe about 20 minutes I'll pick a couple groups, because I don't think we can do everyone, unfortunately. But a couple groups to just briefly show this, just to how you would do it. And then at the end, after a couple groups, we'll do any final questions you want to ask me, and then and then we'll go. Okay, so any questions? I want to put up, so we have this list, and I think you have that on your PowerPoint. But when we do each group, we're going to look at this rubric. Do they provide a preview? No preview at all? Yes, there was a preview, but they didn't say enough, or they said too much. They said the whole movie, or they did the right amount of preview. Do they model in gesture? Can I know what they're saying if they said no words? Language patterns. Do they follow? This is the game. This is what you need. This is the steps. This is the rules. Do they follow the pattern? So at least students know what to expect next. Do they use IRF? Say a sentence, ask a question, give feedback. This one's going to be harder because you would need to do this at home. So don't worry too much about this one, but know that you would want to have like a binder or something. You don't have to do that today. And then provide a review. Ask questions in Chinese to make sure that you understand. So 20 minutes, and then we'll have some groups, and then we'll talk which one did they do. Okay? Sound good? All right, I'll give you 20 minutes. If you need to use the bathroom, of course, take a break and do that. And we'll come back in 20 minutes.
新加坡卷。那个吃西瓜。
哦，好像可以。
很简单，对不对？那我们就要手感。
只是想要上课用。
交放手，篮球防守，交小气。Egocentric 是这样吗？Egos catch chicken 然后做成英文。哎，差不多好不好？Eagle catching chicks. Eagle catching chicks. Eagle catching chicks. Eagle.
然后我这样然后变量定数，
不知道，就会学姐定。
突然想到，
是数，
我不想。
跟你有，然后就喜欢做 burger。
我不知道是数案吧。好 ，OK。
要两组。Can people 5 people in the group?
你那么就是 6 people 一个鬼，一个鬼，鸡群，对，5个。One eagle. Today we are going to play eagle.
所以你就直接讲，我们需要一个老鹰跟我们自己。
I appreciate it.
And equal
Just want to tell you, when I see you at home, oh, so you're not tired? I thought you had too much fun on Friday night. Came in.
Woke up like,
oh no. Now you're sleeping.
First, eagle have to catch the chicks.
I saw you are going to discuss with him. So. I'll just
we are going to do later is run the whole steps or only break our game.
So the idea is that all of these steps are together. So on your gestures, I'm also doing our gesture. Yeah, so I think the hope is, I don't think we won't spend too much time. Saturdays, teachers are already working on every other week. I do that class in the afternoon. And then I need to go to Shinju for a wedding. So, yeah, we'll go this evening and the wedding's tomorrow. So my wife's gonna come here and we'll get in the car and drive. And I feel like that's more not my life. I feel like I'm just the chauffeur for my wife to drive there.
So is your wife
That's her. Yeah, she works for EVA Airlines. She's a data analyst. So she works in their head office and takes a bunch of data and makes business ideas. So we met. I was working at a cram school, and she was working at that cram school too. So we worked at the same in Taiwan. Yeah, so we met here in 2011, and then so we almost 10 years now together. And she went back to America. And she hated it. She hated living there. And so as soon as I finished, she came back here. Yeah, if it's up to her, we'll do forever. Yeah. There were certain things that she liked about America, but overall, she didn't like it. Yeah, food she didn't like. I think weather's okay. Because the weather in Houston is kind of like the weather here, except everywhere has better air conditioning, so it doesn't feel as bad. But I think food was a major issue. And she worked at American Airlines for a while, same job like as a data analyst as she does here. But I think she found that she felt a lot of pressure. She did not enjoy working for a big company in America. And she much preferred working in the So I think generally she was just in work and in food. She was much happier than she was. But she did like, I think she, the area we liked, there were parts that she liked. Like, the air is fresh. And there's more. The place we lived had all of these walking paths, so it was really safe to go walking. Whereas in Geelong, you have to walk on the road. So like that part has lots of trees. So she liked that part. She did not like outside out and everything is, and she didn't like how quiet. She's used to living in a big city, and where we lived was quieter. She didn't like that part. So, yeah, I think there were pros and cons, but ultimately, she was at the end of 2.5 years. She was pretty miserable. And you could tell, like, she came back in November. And I remember when I came back here in December, I could tell she was so much happier than what she was before. So it was like, even if I think it might be harder for me to work here, because all of this, like working in a university in Taiwan is a lot different than in America. And so I'm slowly learning the rules and different things. So I'm comfortable. I like it. It's nice. I hope so. I hope I can work here for a long time. I like working at this university, so I hope I can get to stay.
Promise. Because because nowadays community want to develop this kind of bilingual teaching for international education.
My concern is that it's a fad, and then after like 3 or 4 years, everyone's gonna be like, we can't do it. And they're like, okay, we just won't do it anymore. And then I'm gonna have to go in the dean's office, and she's gonna be like, well, no more bilingual, so bye. And then I'm gonna have to beg the English department to take me, which I could do. I think I like doing the bilingual education thing. Like if I really had to, my dissertation was on writing, so I could teach it in English. I should do it. I'm qualified to do that.
Only sales job.
三个角色，3个对的。
Let's we'll see. So we have about 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Is that someone from the department? Yes. Is that your boss?
Yes.
Every cell has a step in size. And when the only cell joins, one cell has to be.
Interesting. You have taught also.
That's the big one.
But never in English. So this is the first time you get to see what they can do.
Chess.
I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. I expected maybe a little bit lower level, but no, 11 quite high.
下一个被追的人。
Yeah.
然后你才这个
对，
B2。
对啊，这样好长哦，怎么办？哇！第一个层是那个有组别的细胞反应。
Speaking English is one, but taking the exam
比较难，因为还要记得，因为我要讲3种，他们反而是单一细胞并分，他们各有一个人，但是组别里面他们至少3个人，一个是站在对面，一个是单独的小家的，其实被追到然后后来最后是觉得说，如果我觉得还是要一个要在一起。这些都你们都是从这个是我们的这个真的很健康，然后对这一家多元，很难不会不难吗？可是我就是有一个我要分享是，因为很多小朋友，其实我自己在玩的时候有讲说，就可能讲说1、2、3个小朋友，很多时候是那个细胞跑过来之后，结果是这个小朋友他原本在路边的被顶到，他就自己跑进去。其实事实上是这一个小朋友最好。我也觉得真的有示范，应该就而且看的都是所以顽皮鬼，我们讲解的时候最明显。
教训出来，你现在那个人都是。
这样吗？这样好吗？老师好严格。重中的想法就是，这一盘要很厉害，最后一点刚走过来，这个要这样，然后最后说喜欢回过来都可以。或者都让比例稳的 you 了哈。 You OK， 可以。
我的时候讲话，然后又滚，然后这个就是那你被抓到的，
被抓就变成
你就要变狗。
All right, last minute. One more minute.
Là sao抽钱吗？是要抽钱？他在打挑战，老师掉了。
没关系啊，好了。
他现在在录。那这样我需要上去示范，应该电子就是不会啊，我们争取上去，因为就算讲中文，我还是需要同学示范，所以讲英文更需要。好啊。
All right. 5 seconds. All right. Who would like to go? You want to do it? All right, come on up.
告诉你，sorry， 讲错了。
All right, so as you're watching this group, I do want you to think about, because we will have a conversation once they're done. We'll have a conversation about where you think they will be on this. So, did they not demonstrate it? Are they working on it? Or did they get it? And it's okay. You don't have to get all of them. Okay? It's about learning and building each time. All right? Go ahead.
Hi. We are going to play Eagle Catching Chicks. So what we are going to play? Lily! What we are going to play? Eagle Catching Chicks. Eagle Catching Chicks. Okay. First, we need eagle and flying chicks. Come here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Huh?
Come. Okay. One eagle and 5 chicks. And the first one is hen. Okay? So we need 1 eagle, 5 chicks, and the first one is hen. Okay, hen needs to protect the chicks. And the eagle have to catch the chicks. Okay, wait. Okay, when the eagle catch the chicks, the eagle win. Okay? And when eagle didn't catch the chicks in 1 minute, the chicks win. Okay? Do you understand?
Yes.
So,
okay.
Okay, so what is eagle going to do?
Catch the chicks.
And what is hen going to do?
Protect the chicks.
Okay, finish.
Alright, and yeah, it's very good. Can you do? Are you going to do a review after that? Will you do any Chinese? No. Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead and sit down. So, I thought this was a really great
example. You did a really great job, and it helps us. Excuse me. Helps us talk about these things. Okay. So, I guess she didn't do a preview, okay? So maybe she's deciding that she's going to do all English. She's doing a strict separation. And that's okay. Okay? So in a strict separation, if you're going to do that, where you do an all English PE class, then you won't have this or this. If you do the flexible multiplicity where you care about both languages, then you would want to add this. So let's assume that she's not doing this now. Okay? So let's talk about model and gestures. Where would you put her? Where would you put her on this? Not demonstrated, working on it, or got it? Let's start here. Did she not use modeling or gestures? Did she do actions? Yeah, she did. So we know it's not this one. Okay? All right. Now, did she do we'll go to this side now. Did she use actions for all or almost all language, or was it sometimes that she uses and sometimes she didn't? Sometimes. Okay, so since it's not all or almost all, it's not this one. So we know that she's here right now. We know she's here. And that's okay. That's a good place to start. Okay? And so every lesson, maybe first lesson, she knows she's here. And then next lesson, she tries to get to here. And she knows, okay, this is the part I need to work on. So this is how you can use this. Okay? Let's talk about language pattern. Did she follow the procedure of this is what we play, this is what we need, this is how you, this is what you do? Did she follow that procedure? No. Which part did she not do? Well, let's go through each one. Did she do purpose? Yeah, she said we're playing eagle and chicks, right? Yeah, so she did this part. Equipment. Did she say what we need? Yeah, we need 1 eagle, we need 5 chicks. Okay, so she did that. Okay, did she tell you the steps of playing? Yeah? Yeah? Did she tell you the rules, like how you win and how you don't win? Yeah. And she did it, I think she did it in this order. As far as I remember, I think she did it in that order. So in this respect, I would say that yes, she follows a procedure and pattern. Now, for her, if she's trying to develop as a bilingual teacher, what we want to do is we want multiple lessons. So maybe we'll video record lesson 1, video record lesson 2, and video record lesson 3. And see, does she do this every time? If she doesn't, maybe lesson 1 she does it, lesson 2 she doesn't do it, and lesson 3 she does, then we know that she's here.